What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified as soon as we drop new content. So let's get into it. It is fight week, and it's fight week for Liam Beefy Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr. 2. So as we know what happened in the first fight, Beefy Smith KO'd Chris Eubank Jr. in the fourth round. And it was one of these fights where Beefy, Smith, he fought his normal fight, stalking his prey, stalking his prey. He was just sort of biding his time over the first couple of rounds, and he's one good thing about Smith, I'll say, is that he's very good at sort of making you work, and he kind of stalks you and moves forward and makes you punch, makes you work, makes you kind of, if you're not on his level, he can sort of make you punch yourself out and wear yourself out trying to keep him off you, and then he just overwhelms you, and then he comes in with his own shots, digging to the body and head. And that's what he done to Eubank Jr. Eubank started off quite cautiously. He did look a little bit unsure of himself, a little bit shaky on his legs, sort of back and leaning away from shots and stuff of that nature. I think Eubank Jr., from my recollection, he was sort of on top in that fight. He was perhaps in the lead in that fight, based on the fact that I don't think there was much really coming from Smith. Smith was just sort of biding his time, wasn't really throwing much in there. So yeah, Eubank was kind of in the ascendancy. I think he had a good third round. And then, of course, what happened. He got knocked out in the fourth. So going into this rematch, Eubank Jr. has made a change. He's got Bo McIntyre, or Bo Mac as he's known, who is Terence Crawford's trainer. So Terence Crawford, the number one pound for pound guy in the world at present. He's got rid of Roy Jones Jr. And there's been a bit of footage. I think they haven't worked together for very long, Bomac and Eubank Jr. It's only, can't be more than, what, couple of months at the very, very most. So I think, obviously, it's a very short camp and a very short time that they would have had to form a bond and kind of a relationship and figure out a strategy. But that, well, we'll have to see what impact or what difference that makes. I think Bomac and his guy, they've got sense. Then they wouldn't. I'm sure they wouldn't try to sort of completely change Eubank Jr.'s style. They might try and get him back to more boxing on the front foot and stuff. So yeah, there's changes in his camp. Liam Smith has pretty much kept things the same. His setup exactly the same, and I think going into this fight, he pretty much tactically won't have to change much. I would say with Beefy Smith, I don't think he really has to change much. Can bring in the same sort of game plan, box on the front foot, bob and weave, go to Eubank Jr.'s body, make Chris Eubank, work at a high pace, make Chris Eubank work and keep having to work and work and work. And that's what he's going to have to do, just sort of put the pressure on Chris Eubank Jr. and just keep him guessing, sort of thing. But be on that front foot and just keep working away at him. And I think that is a way in which he will be successful, just basically putting the pressure on Eubank as he did last time. And I think really, as far as the changes go, they're really going to have to come from Eubank's side. Sorry, not side. I think Eubank is going to have to be a bit more aggressive in this fight. I think he's going to have to sort of fight in spurts, fight in little bursts of activity. I think the jab is a very, very, very important weapon, as it is for all fighters. But in this rematch, I think that jab is going to be it's a weapon, and it's an essential weapon that Eubank Jr. is really going to have to establish in this fight. I think he's going to, as I always like to say, going to have to double that jab up. I think he's going to have to sort of step in with the jab. He's going to have to make the jab into a hard shot. And his tactics, at least in my view, are going to have to be to sort of discourage Smith from getting close, discourage Smith from coming forward. I think he's really got to sort of give Liam Smith something to think about every time he tries to come in. And I think Eubank's really got to use that left hand as a proper weapon. You know, every time Smith tries to come in, it's got to be bang. He's got to be met with a jab every single time. You know, and I think if he can find a way to sort of push Smith back, that's going to be an important thing. You know, but he's got to stand his ground, center of the ring, and I think it's important that Eubank Jr. gets Liam Smith's respect from early in this fight. I think that's going to be important. So for me, I think he's going to have to be jabbing a lot, doubling up the jab, you know, sort of stepping in twice with the same way, as I always say, what you learn in the amateurs, where you know, when you do the double jab, you step in twice. So you step in with the first one, step back, step in with the second one as well. So you kind of push the opponent back twice, and then he's got to reset himself, because I think Smith, he's one of them fighters where he's got to sort of set himself to punch. So I think if you can sort of push Smith back and make him have to go back to the rope, make him have to sort of reset himself because he's just been hit, or he's just had to take a jab, you know, you got to sort of give him something to think about, you know. But I think he's got to be careful. I saw in the training footage of Eubank sort of bringing his hand back low. I think that's kind of a big no-no. I think Bomac was even saying the same thing, that look, don't bring your hand back low. If you are going to bring your hand back low, what you've got to then do is, once you've thrown your shot, once you've thrown your jab, then you step back so that you're out of punching range and he can't counter you, because that's going to be an important thing. Eubank's got to make sure he's not falling into traps, not falling into counters. And I think his combinations are going to be important. He's got to go back to that sort of combination punching when he is on the front foot. It's not just one shot at a time. It's threes and fours. He's got to throw them. If he does get backed up, I think he's got to, you know, throw his threes and fours, bring those uppercuts that he used to throw. And I think he's also got to, in my opinion, he's got to go to Smith's body, which is the part that, you know, very important in boxing. Go to the man's body, sort of slow him down. So as he comes down, jab to the head, hook to the body, right to the body sort of thing. I think he's got to do that bit of work downstairs to, you know, because the whole thing is, Smith's going to come into this full of confidence, full of zeal. He's going to think, I'm going to walk through this guy again. And he's got every reason to think that way, because of he was able to do a job on him last time. But I think for Eubank, he's got to just sort of, he's got to be aggressive, be a bit clever. He's got to fight in bursts when he's not punching. And, you know, Smith's trying to come forward. He's got to sort of pivot out of the way, make sure that, you know, even use a bit of holding tactics, I would say, might be quite important for Eubank Jr. You know, if Smith gets too close, rather than being there letting him hit you, you know, once you've thrown your shot, if it comes in close, just grab him, hold him if you need to hold him. And then he's got to then reset again. You've got to break, and then when you break, then you start throwing your shots, because Eubank, he's got some fast hands, and I think he's got to sort of use his speed, use his movement. But I'd say no real. I'd advise against sort of excessive movement or dancing around the ring. I think just pivots and slight little steps backwards if he has to, and stuff, tying up on the inside. But yeah, for me, that's my thoughts. I think most likely what we're going to see here is. I think we're most likely going to see repeat. I reckon we're most probably going to see another Liam Smith victory. I think the fight will go longer. The fight might even go to points. But my gut reaction is that I think we're going to see probably a late stoppage by Liam Smith. I think he gets to Chris Eubank Jr. late. But I do quite like Eubank. You know, I think he's a guy that does have talent, so he's got loads of potential. But I think the fact that this is an immediate rematch, and you know, we don't know whether he's dealt with those demons, whether he's dealt with the mental scars of suffering your first knocked down in your first knockout or stoppage loss, that's a serious blow to take. And the fact that his very next fight is against the same guy that did that to him, mentally, has he gotten over that? That's another factor that we can think about. And even a change of trainers, I think even that could go against Eubank Jr. or it could work in his favor. I hope, he's a fighter that I quite like. I've enjoyed watching him in his career. I think he probably loses this one, but I kind of support him in a way. So I'd like to see him win, but in all honesty, I reckon this is probably going to be repeat. But let me know what your thoughts are on this fight. Do you think it's just going to be a repeat victory for Liam Smith? Do you think there's anything Chris Eubank can do to turn this around? Do you give him any chance at all? Let me know your thoughts. And until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.